Isn't it creepy when you're talking to your friends about something and then you immediately get an ad for that thing? Well, I was talking about using loopers to create drum beats, and I was considering at the time buying drum pads to build drum beats and then loop them through my system and then play along with that. Well, of course, I get this ad on my phone for something called the Digitech Sdrum. And I was very curious. I click on the link, sends me to a YouTube video, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're telling me that there's this device, the very thing I've been looking for. I can use my guitar's low E string and high E string to trigger bass drum and snare drum. I then can create a loop pattern that can go through a song, and everything I was hoping for. It's almost like I manifested this out of thin air. I almost felt like we were living in a simulation kind of moment. But that's today's device, the Digitech Sdrum. I think you guys are going to really dig this one. Like always, I know you're here for the sounds, so I'm going to try to keep the talking to a minimum. I'm playing my Gretsch Electromatic G5420T. You're going to want to put the Digitech Sdrum first in your pedal chain. I've actually made a mistake of trying to put the strum towards the end of the pedal chain, and your other effects and devices could unwantingly trigger your Digitech to play drums when you don't want it to. So definitely follow the manual, put your Digitech Sdrum first in the chain. So I'm going right out of the Gretsch into the input of the Digitech Sdrum. There are two outputs here. There's one that's going to go directly through the rest of my pedal board and into my orange CR60. I have that mic'd with a condenser mic through my Alesis Mix 4 into Reaper, which is my digital audio workstation. As you can see, I have the other out is a mixer out. And this mixer out actually is a stereo out. I'm only using it as mono, but if you do want to, if you have a stereo rig, you can actually, put it through a stereo rig and you'll get the panning of like tom-toms and stuff like that. But for today, I'm just using a mono. So I have the mixer out going right to, again, my Alesis Ultra Multi-Mix 4. And I actually have a little bit of reverb on it, and I boosted the bass drum just a bit, but otherwise all the sounds are just directly from the strum. And lastly, there is one more output here that actually is a jam sync. So I have this 1/8 inch jack that's going to go from the strum to my Jam Man looper, and it's really neat. It actually will sync up your looper with your drum. So even if you're a tiny bit off in your timing, it will sync up your, whatever parts you're putting into your looper, it'll sync it up with the strum. Let me know in the comments if you want a more in-depth tutorial on the Digitech Sdrum, but I'm going to go over the basics to get you up and running. The first thing you're going to want to do is calibrate your guitar. So make sure your guitar volume is all the way up, and then you're going to hit the calibration where it says guitar audition. Hold that, and then you're going to see the lights on the top left pot turn on like this. All right, with your thumb, hit the low E string to calibrate the bass drum. And keep doing that until all the lights are gone. Then use your another finger or a pick to hit the high E string to calibrate the snare drum, and do the same thing until all the lights are gone. And now your guitar should be calibrated. So when you hit the low E string, there's your bass drum. Isn't that cool? And when you hit the high E string, that's your snare drum. So I use a technique where I use my thumb for the low E, like this, and then I use like my ring finger to kind of pop the high E to get the snare. But you can use a pick. So whatever method works for you, you got to play around with it, like whatever is comfortable for you to be able to trigger. The low E is, again, the bass drum. The high E is the snare. So yeah, definitely mess around with that. There's another way to trigger drums, and as with the drum pads, as you can see on the device, there's a pad for the bass drum and there's a pad for the snare, just like this. Actually, it says kick and snare, so for all you savvy people, kick is also a bass drum, same kind of deal. Isn't it funny how I said I wasn't going to talk a lot and then I proceeded to talk a ton? There's just so much information about the Digitech Sdrum. So thank you guys so much for sticking it out so far. Let's get into the sounds for real this time. I'm going to quickly program a beat into the strum, and then I'm going to go through all the different drum sounds. So you have everything from acoustic kits to electronic kits to like kind of some world instruments. And there's also this button called the Alt button. So like it actually gives you two different versions of each kit. So let's get a beat going, and then I'll go through each sound. You can kind of watch as I go along. So again, follow along as I go. I'm starting on the clean kit. Now I'm on power. My personal favorite. All right, here's the percussion settings. So you get like kind of some timbali sounds and different kind of auxiliary percussion sounds. Next one is a brush kit. Whenever I play like kind of a low-key acoustic loungy kind of set, I actually use this brush setting, and it's really perfect, man. It gives you that kind of more laid-back unplugged sound. Gotta love the tambourine. All right, and lastly, you have an electro pop sound. I'm telling you that the samples on this thing are really sick. I love them. Get your rave on with this one. All right, so quickly, I'm gonna go back to the power kit. And I'm actually gonna go through all of the different ways you can play the hi-hat. So on the right, on the top right, there's a pot, and there's all these numbers. I think it goes all the way up to 12. So each one is a different hi-hat pattern that you can program. Let me go through each one of those real quick, and you can see what I'm talking about. Not only do you have 12 hi-hat patterns you can use, if you hit this button here, you have 12 different ride cymbal patterns. And if you hit the button again, you have tom-tom patterns you can play. You have a verse, a chorus, and a bridge that you can set up. You have different volume levels for each part of the song. You can make the beats simple or busy. You can make them swung or straight. You can be in 3/4 time or 4/4 time. This thing is such a powerful device. There's so many things, too much to really cover in a 10-minute video. So please, guys, in the comments, let me know. Do you want me to do like a really in-depth tutorial? I really feel like I could probably make like an over hour-long video just going through every setting, how to create beats, how to play beats with the looper. So let me know in the comments. Do you want me to do another, follow-up video to this kind of a part 2/tutorial of the Strum? I would be glad to do that if that's something you really want to see. As far as a review, again, I really can't say enough praise about this device. It's really been a game changer for my music. I've actually recorded albums with this. I've played live with this now for a few years. The only thing I would say though is some of the buttons here are a little wonky. You have to be very careful. Some of these buttons are kind of fragile. If you hit them too hard, they start to break. I actually had that happen here where my chorus button, like I have to get this fixed now. So definitely be careful with the buttons here, especially when you're playing live. Other things is like, when you're playing live, sometimes you accidentally might hit the buttons here, like the pads for the kick and snare. So you have to kind of be careful not to hit those. But overall, man, it's a great product. I think I've seen them used on the used market for about $150 USD. Brand new, I think they're still around the 200 mark, but definitely give it a chance. The Digitech Strum. Thank you guys as always for watching, man. If you're liking these videos, please like, subscribe, leave some comments, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.